Alright, what's happening, y'all? Just a few things about free agency I wanted to talk about today. There's a lot going on. Ryan Kerrigan and Ryan Anderson gone. There are a lot of players out there that are available that we could try to get in free agency. And then lastly, it's reported that other teams are eyeing Ronald Darby. So we're going to talk about all of that. Let's get it. Alright, so first of all, Ryan Kerrigan and Ryan Anderson are pretty much gone. The writing's on the wall. Even from Ryan Kerrigan's side, he said that he wanted to start somewhere, which means he probably also wants relatively big money. Of course, probably less than what J.J. Watt got with the Cardinals, but still, he said he wants to start somewhere. He clearly will not start here. And even if he was cool with being a role player, depending on how much money he asked, Ron Rivera and the guys probably weren't interested in bringing him back anyway. So it's just a clear divide right now. They're nowhere near close to each other. Kerrigan doesn't want to come back, and we don't want to bring him back unless it's for way cheaper than what he's willing to take. And Ryan Anderson clearly is not a Ron Rivera guy, so he's up out of here too, man. Unless they sign him back for like some extremely ridiculously cheap number. But even then, we're running the 4-3 now. We sometimes run 5 defensive linemen at the same time, but it's very rare. And then even when we do that, it's Chase Young on the outside, Montez Sweat on the outside, and then the 3 interior defensive linemen on the inside. We run nickel about like 60% of the time or more, which means 4 defensive linemen. Ryan Anderson doesn't fit that profile. Simple as that. Moving on from that, let's get to the most exciting part of the video. Some of the guys that should be available in free agency. First of all, the Buccaneers winning franchise tag Chris Godwin. So that means Lavonte David, top 5, arguably top 3 linebacker, is available in free agency. He will be an unrestricted free agent. Now, granted, the Buccaneers may try all that they can and do everything in their power to try to bring him back to the Buccaneers, but he is hitting the market as an unrestricted free agent, and SpotTrack only has him at an estimated market value of $12 million a year. I mean, I'm willing to pay him almost 15, so if we can get him for $12 million a year, you do that today. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're the main one calling him, bugging him. Call him up and ask him if he likes mumbo sauce and go-go. Do whatever you gotta do, man. Get Lavonte David on this team. Of course, there are other great options out there that are cheaper, like a Kyle Van Noy, who may end up getting released. There's also Gerard David from the Lions, who has limitless potential. I mean, a Bobby Wagner type of ceiling, but he just hasn't worked out well for the Lions, so maybe we can bring him in for cheaper. I mean, hey, as cheap as Gerard Davis may go for, you may be able to bring in Lavonte David and Gerard Davis. But that's in a video in itself. I mean, I could literally do a video breaking down each position and need as far as free agency goes, because there's so many names out there, but I just want to talk about some of the more notable ones. Moving on to wide receiver Kenny Golladay, the Lions will not be franchise tagging him. And that's basically the center theme for the vast majority of this video. Who's not getting franchise tag? Because as of right now, Dak Prescott was tagged, even though that's just a precautionary thing. He's getting signed to the long-term deal that everybody knows about. Leonard Williams is getting tagged by the Giants. Brandon Sheriff is tagged by us, sadly. Hopefully we can get him signed to a long-term deal before free agency hits, or especially before training camp, because if not, I mean, if we can't sign him before that long-term deal date, he's pretty much as good as gone, and at that point, we might as well trade him for whatever we can get this summer, but we'll see. Again, that's a whole nother video in itself also. The Bears did franchise tag Allen Robinson, but there's a lot of rumors going around that they tagged him so that they can trade him. So I doubt that we do that, because I'm pretty sure Ron Rivera and the guys are more willing to just take a guy in the draft, or take one of those lesser guys like a Curtis Samuel or Corey Davis for cheaper, or maybe a combination of both. Corey Davis or Curtis Samuel and a draft pick together will be cheaper than Allen Robinson. Right now, receivers are normally only supposed to cost $16 million when they're franchise tagged. As you can see on the screen, all of the numbers per position that franchise tags are supposed to cost, but Brandon Sheriff has been tagged several times in a row now. That's why his is up to $18 million. And for Allen Robinson, his is $17.88 million on his tag. So not only do you have to give up like a first round pick, maybe even more than that, but then you also have to be ready to pay him almost $18 million just this season alone. But he is arguably the best receiver available in this free agency period. But again, I just don't see us trading a big round pick for him and paying him $18 million for 1 year. We're already doing that with Brandon Sheriff. We're already in an ugly situation as it is with him. Chris Godwin was tagged, as I previously mentioned, by the Buccaneers. Cam Robinson was tagged by the Jaguars. Taylor Martin, the tackle from the Panthers, was tagged. Justin Simmons, my boy, man. Safety from the Broncos was tagged. Marcus May, jet safety, I know that a lot of y'all really like and felt like was underrated, also got tagged. And a lot of these, I'm expecting them to just end up staying on their team for at least another year. But it's rumored that Allen Robinson was tagged so that they can trade him and get a lot of value back for him. But back to who's possibly available. Again, Kenny Golladay was not tagged by the Lions. They chose to not use a franchise tag on anybody so far. So the deadline is usually 4 p.m. Well, that's what it was supposed to be. But since the salary cap hasn't officially been decided on, like the official exact number, it may get delayed. But as of right now, teams are approaching this as if the deadline will be at 4 p.m., which right now is 2:45 p.m. for me, is an hour and 15 minutes away. So it looks like Kenny Golladay more than likely won't be tagged. But the problem with Kenny Golladay, he will be an unrestricted free agent, but he has a vast injury history, and also he may be demanding around like $20 million per year, which is like ridiculous. I love Kenny Golladay, and he's a true ex-receiver, led the league in touchdown receptions in 2019, but that's a lot of money. I mean, granted, he is only 27 years old, and he is like one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL, arguably the best receiver in this whole free agency class. But 21 million possibly a year, like, whoo! Then you also have tight end Hunter Henry, who was tagged last year. The Chargers chose not to tag him this year. Very good tight end option out there. Used to be one of the top tight ends in the league for a second, for like a hot season, but then he kept getting hurt. Then he finally bounced back and had a fully healthy season last year, but just wasn't the Hunter Henry that we expected out of him after his early career development. But if he's going for cheap, I say bring him in. I don't want to pay him big money because I feel like Logan Thomas is a good enough tight end one. I feel like we just really need a tight end two. But if you can get Hunter Henry on a pretty decent contract, that gives us the best tight end duo in the NFL easily, without argument. Because Hunter Henry is still a really good dual threat tight end along with Logan Thomas. If anything, Hunter Henry has a higher ceiling, but you also have more injury concerns with him. And then also, months ago, it was reported that we were interested in Hunter Henry and monitoring the situation. So that connection is there. It may happen. Then you also have safety Marcus Williams from the Saints. Did not get tagged. I'm fairly surprised. That may be a nice option out there. I feel like we're more than likely going to go with a Trey Boston, who's less good than Marcus Williams, but he's also going to be way cheaper. But if we're willing to spend a little bit more money, you can get a Marcus Williams, who's basically Trey Boston as far as range and free safety, but he also brings some good tackling too. Whereas Trey Boston is exactly what we need for a deep, single high free safety, last line of defense type of guy. Trey Boston does exactly what we were missing last year, one of our biggest holes. But Marcus Williams does that and some, but he's also going to cost what Trey Boston costs and some. So it just depends on how the Washington football team wants to combine players. Speaking of safeties, Anthony Harris doesn't look like he's going to get tagged by the Vikings, and he's an elite free safety. I mean, arguably top 3 in the NFL. Problem is, he's also going to be the most expensive one on the free agency market right now. He's going to cost even more than Marcus Williams. I mean, the gap between Trey Boston to Marcus Williams may be the same amount of money from Marcus Williams up to Anthony Harris, and I highly doubt we go that route, especially with Landon Collins eating up so much money already. And that pretty much sums up all of the big names that may be available in free agency, that should be available, more than likely will be available, with Allen Robinson being the only one you have to trade for that was mentioned. And moving on to the last topic, it's reported that other teams are eyeing Darby. Now, luckily for us, we're also interested in him, and with there being a pretty good cornerback market, no real all-star lockdown corners, it's a bunch of just solid guys, and I can argue that William Jackson's probably even better than Darby. So even though teams are looking at Darby, there's some pretty good guys out there, and I'm hoping and kind of assuming that Darby's price will not just skyrocket because of all of these teams that want him. And plus, he would prefer to stay here. Jack Del Rio's defense is perfect for him, so I could just see him staying home. I mean, he's from the DMV too. You can hear it in his accent. It's one of the heaviest accents I've heard. I can't mimic it. I can't copy it. I cannot copy a DMV accent, especially not as strong as that. So I'm pretty sure he feels right at home and would prefer to stay where he's from, play for his hometown team. He loves his teammates, got attached to him. Again, he fits Jack Del Rio's defense so well. If we can draft a corner that could potentially become our #1 corner. Ronald Darby moved to #2 with Kendall Fuller in the slot. Ronald Darby would be out here balling and look really good production and stats wise. And I just don't see why you wouldn't want to play behind a front four this dominant. It makes your job as a corner way easier. And again, we're expressing interest back towards him, so I feel like there's a mutual interest between the two, and we will get this deal done, not for a lot of money. Definitely not James Bradbury money, who's clearly like a #1 corner. Ronald Darby isn't that. But Ronald Darby is solid, and I would be very happy to bring him back on a contract that makes sense. And I think we will, even though there are teams looking at him. There are other teams looking at him. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Just wanted to discuss some of the names that may be leaving this team, some of the names that may stay with this team, and a lot of the names that may join this team. Free agency's cooking up. It's a lot to talk about. That's why I'm spamming y'all with videos. I'm sorry, but it's just so many things to discuss, and I definitely wanted to get this video done. And I'm gonna do a lot more free agency videos on the way leading up to free agency, which doesn't officially start till March 17th. I mean, a lot of stuff is gonna happen before then, but March 17th is when things become official. But expect like around March 15th, March 16th to get really crazy. But I'm gonna definitely keep y'all in tune with everything. Make sure you stay in tune with the channel. Please like this video if you liked it. If you learned anything, please subscribe so you can get more videos like this one. Stay on top of everything going on in free agency, especially regarding the Washington football team. Hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification every time I release a video like this one, every time I release one of my live streams, one of my 5 mock drafts. The next one coming up that I'm gonna release this week is the trade back scenario, and of course my live streams. I live stream every Friday 8 to 10 p.m. and every Sunday at 1 or 4 p.m. for about a couple hours every week. And as always, man, I really appreciate all the support. Everybody that pulls up to every video on live stream, leaves a like, shares it out so more people can join the Street Scores family. We hit 8K. I almost forgot to announce that, man. We hit 8K, man. We on the way to 9K, then we on to 10K, then we on the way to 100. You feel me? I appreciate y'all for supporting the movement, man. I really appreciate everybody that donates to the channel. Everybody that's a sponsor for the channel, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. I really appreciate all of y'all, man, for supporting a burgundy and gold fan all the way from Atlanta, man. We all in this together, bro. We're everywhere if you really think about it. Brazil, Mexico, Germany, Australia, UK, we're everywhere. Not a lot of fan bases are as deep as we are. And I'm the Atlanta ambassador out here doing it, so I'm holding it down out here for us, man. But again, more videos to come. I'm probably going to keep double uploading because there's so many things to talk about. So just prepare for these notifications from me. I'm going to keep hitting y'all with them. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.